Hello, everybody, and welcome to Silent Podcast, a place where everything but silent. I am your host, Isaiah, and we are back to talk about Big Brother 23. We just had the elimination and HOH last night, so we have a lot to talk about. But before we get started, I am here with my co-host, like usual, Sarah Yell. Sarah, how are you doing today?
There was a quick second where I thought I was going to be doing very bad this morning. We almost went into a dark hole and we're going to have an awful week, but then our beacon of light, Kylan, thank goodness, swooped in and saved us. And so now I'm feeling good. I'm feeling hopeful.
All right. And we also have a guest Ganjo's no stranger to Big Brother podcast, as well as being on the DCOM podcast and guessing on many other things. So we're Silent Podcast. Ganjo, how are you doing? How do you feel about the season? What's your opinion so far?
I am doing swell, my guy. Thanks for having me. And I'm pretty sure I'm feeling a reprieve, just how the house is feeling a reprieve, that chaos French fry is not the HOH no more. So far, I've been really enjoying the chaos. I just hope people's lies catch up to them.
Okay. So, as anyone's wondering, last time we spoke, I think it was after the veto ceremony, Sarah. And basically we were seeing what the state of the house was. It started to look like Travis was starting to be like the consensus everybody was going towards, but it was still very shaky, so we didn't know what was going to happen. Going into yesterday's episode, though, it seemed after a couple of days passed, it was pretty clear that Travis was going to go. He waited till like the last second to really push any kind of campaign on purpose because he thought that would be the best time to do it. Big mistake. Sarah, do you think Travis could have saved himself yesterday?
Yesterday in one day, no. I think he had one opportunity to save himself, and that is when Derek was holding the veto in his hand. Because I think he should have convinced Derek not to use it, and I think that was the only way he was going to save himself. But instead, as I just learned on the feeds, like last night, he even told Derek, he said, yeah, you're right. Kylan will help you more moving. Kylan has better connections. And it's just like, what are you doing, bud? Like, do you want to stay in the house? Like, he seemed way too happy to be first boot. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong at all. And I do agree with that. Like, I felt like they had the game plan laid out where Derek X knew, and I felt like Travis knew that if he used the veto, Travis was going on the block. So I think they were trying to push, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're trying to push for like anybody like Claire or somebody else to go on the block, or but instead of pushing for that, just kind of convince Derek don't use this veto, bro, especially because Kylan had the numbers. So it's kind of like just lose Alyssa instead. But I think they were trying to get too cute with Frenchie trusting them, I guess.
Now, I will say during the episode, I kind of opened my eyes when it came to Travis as a player, where I'm starting to see he actually was a pretty funny guy. I think people genuinely liked him, and it seemed like when people were actually voting him out, they were sad to be sending him out. And I think a lot of people prefer to keep Travis in the game versus an Alyssa. And I think that if he campaigned just even like a day earlier, or at least try to make something happen, he could have. There's a small chance he could have stayed. But since he didn't really pitch anything other than the pretty good counterpoints to Frenchie, where Frenchie doesn't have power after that veto, it's just you wait a little too late. So it's unfortunate. But not really, because he wasn't one of my favorites. That's a personal strive. But we see Travis leaving yesterday. Interesting thing though, we did see it be a vote of 11-2. And that's because Frenchie asked a couple people to throw hinky votes, and it seemed like Azza and Derek F were the only people to really do it. I know he asked people like Claire and the others to also do it, but they didn't want to do it since they promised. Yes. Ganjo, and let's talk to Ganjo. Ganjo, how do you feel about Frenchie telling people to throw hinky votes yesterday?
I think it's a good way. If you're not Frenchie, you shouldn't. It didn't matter for Frenchie to do this, I think. But if you are an HOH, I think this is a good way to try to get trust, to know where the votes are really going to go. And if you could kind of try to tell the person, okay, vote this way, to kind of I don't want to set everybody else up, basically. But I think this instance, it was very pointless. Alyssa was staying. I don't think those votes are going to impact Alyssa anyway. But I think it's just Frenchie trying to be the little finger and trying to have, I guess, extra control that he really didn't need to have. But I think did Tiffany vote for Alyssa to go home?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I also think that was maybe just like a loyalty vote to Travis because Travis was on her team. Like, I don't know. I don't know if Frenchie asked Tiffany, but personally, I don't think it's that big of a deal. But I think Derek F doing it so easily, I just feel like Frenchie has him in his pocket. So that's going to prove to Frenchie that Derek F is a part of that side, and he's never going to want to let Derek F go. So I think that helps Derek F, but I think it was pointless for Frenchie to do it.
How you feel, Sarah?
Yeah, so Tiffany, when I first heard Tiffany saying that she was going to do the hinky vote, I was like, oh, do you really want to potentially like give Frenchie some like ammunition against you later, like to tell the house if you're going to keep this big secret? But Tiffany did have a conversation with the cameras, being kind of like, guys at home, I know that you probably think the hinky vote was kind of a stupid idea, but it was basically because like Frenchie has a lot of numbers and people in power, and I think it's important that he thinks I'm still a part of those numbers, even though I do not trust Frenchie and I know he's detrimental for my game. Because I think there was a period where people at home were almost like, is Tiffany in Frenchie's pocket? Like, that seems crazy coming from this icon, But and she made sure to reassure the people at home that no, she is not in Frenchie's pocket. It was just for her game, just in case Frenchie or the Alliance members got power. The only thing I am concerned about is Frenchie's already telling people, being like, I know who the hinky vote came from. And he's definitely going to expose Tiffany eventually. There's no way that man can keep his mouth shut. And the fact is that Tiffany has been lying to her close allies, which I think could potentially be bad. Like, she lied to Claire and Derek, being like, oh, I think someone was trying to pin in all the queens, like knowing that she was the one that did it. And I think things like that could potentially affect her in the future and damage some of those really close relationships.
Yeah, I think if Frenchie didn't do the whole like I know who put the votes out, I'm not going to say anything though. Like, if you just kept your mouth shut and just played dumb, I actually think that for Frenchie specifically, after having that very chaotic week, it would have been good for him. I think Frenchie needs a distraction right now, and I think that he needs people to look elsewhere, and this is like the perfect small thing that people can easily get fixated on and just grab onto that and be like, oh, who cares about the Frenchie week? There's people voting differently and all this stuff, It's not really a big deal, but it's a distraction. And I think
I have a question.
This close. What's up? Does
Frenchie trust Tiffany still?
I think Frenchie does trust Tiffany. I think Tiffany though is very she's very she knows he trusts him a smidget, but she knows he can't stay there too long, if that makes any sense. And she was voicing this in the bathroom yesterday. So I think that they have a mutual like agreement, but it's nothing like solidified or too tight. If that makes any sense. So
I wanted to say, I don't know if this is to be crazy. This never happened before in Big Brother, but is there any chance an HOH could convince enough people to do hinky votes to save the person? Like what if Frenchie wanted to save Travis and was like, do a hinky vote.
Oh, it could have easily went south yesterday too, if enough people were like, oh, I need to throw sympathy votes or whatever, and then it just blew up.
That'd be kind of funny.
I also thought of that, but like I think Frenchie had enough power just to tell people to vote a certain way, and they would have did it. Like, fuck a hinky vote. I think I don't know why everybody blindly listened to Frenchie, but like I felt like after he replaced Kylan with Travis, I felt like, I don't say they should stop listening to him, but they kind of should just making whatever plans they wanted to make. And I felt like his desperation was like piercing through, basically, especially when he tried to make all those alliances late in the week. And it was kind of like, you had all week to talk to me, and you making this alliance to try to cover your ass for the next week. But I don't know. I think, like, I agree, this is a good distraction for Frenchie, and he needs it. But if the house is distracted by a hinky vote over somebody who kind of lied for half the week or majority of the week about who's going to put up, and like, I wouldn't want to work with somebody like that, no matter a hinky vote or not. I had to deal with the hinky vote later.
And the funny thing too is that the whole point of the hinky vote was to like put more of a target on Derek X, and yet no one blames Derek X for the hinky votes. So
all right, so we're gonna actually see later tonight, after Travis is gone, that Kylan wins the HOH. It was actually very close though. I mean, after a few technical difficulties, obviously, and almost a Brent HOH, we get Kylan as a HOH. And I'm very optimistic because I'm glad that we have Kylan as an HOH, and I'm glad that Claire and Tiffany are going to be in power. The thing is, I don't know for Kylan specifically if this is the best week to have that HOH, because I'm starting to see like a divide between the houses. You're going to have Alyssa, Brent, Christian, Whitney, and all those cats over there, and then you're starting to see people like Claire and Tiffany and Brittany and the girls and Derek X and all. They're doing their thing over there, and then you just have the people straight in the middle, and that's like a Sarah, that's like a Xavier, that's like a Kylan, who honestly, if they just sat back and didn't do anything, they wouldn't have to pick a side. But today, because I think Nam's either today or tomorrow, it should be today, Kylan's going to have to make a decision eventually, and when he does that, I'm not going to say he's drawing a line in the sand, but it's going to make people see where his loyalty starts lying, because you're seeing people like Tiffany's side, they're more so pushing for like a Brent to go up, maybe a Frenchie. You're seeing Frenchie's side, they're like, no, let's do like a Claire, let's do like these other Derek X, but you're seeing specifically Sarah Beth, who I think that she's handling this the best way so far. She is like the closest to Kylan, and I think that she has the most influence with Kylan. And right now she's telling him, let's make an alliance with Claire, Tiffany, Derek X. We can try to form something, and then if anything backfires, those are the people you can rely on. But then it gets complicated with that as well, because then there's a Cookout Alliance, and I'm starting to see a little issues with that, because people are starting to, you got Derek F likes Frenchie, you got Kylan likes Sarah, you got Tiffany likes Claire. It's very complicated right now. This is a very spread out house. So Sarah, how do you feel about Kylan going into this nomination ceremony? Do you think what is the right move for him? Do you think they should be worried? Is there any way to really like come out this like without any enemies? What do you think?
Yeah, so I think Kylan is, in my head, like the most interesting person to win the HOH in a way, because he really does have to pick a side right now, and I think one side is clearly going to be more beneficial for him. The only problem is I think when you're HOH, you get so paranoid that you kind of start to question those things, like, are people just lying to me right now? But I think clearly the Claire, Tiffany, Derek X, Sarah, Hannah, and Ozza side is way better for Kylan. I think in that alliance, I think Kylan is in the middle or even like upper middle. Like he has really close like allegiances in there, and he's not at the bottom. But in the slaughterhouse, they just put him on the block this week. They were even at one point pushing for him to go home. He is clearly on the outs. And Xavier as well, I would say, is the bottom in that alliance. I think those two are the bottom of the slaughterhouse, and I think they should jump ship as soon as possible.
I agree.
About you, Gabriel?
I most definitely wholeheartedly agree. I don't see the slaughterhouse being beneficial to anybody but Brent, Frenchie, and Derek F. Like, I think everybody else loses out in a sense. Comfortability. Even was Brent helping Derek X the first week? Like, are they cool? Like, that's the relationship I'm confused about.
He was trying to manipulate him.
Okay,
yeah, a little bit.
Boom. Okay, that's
and
what
Derek
happened.
X, I think, can't stand Brent.
Right, as he should,
Yeah.
But I honestly think Kylan is in a very peculiar spot. He can like set himself up to really be not only in the middle of his alliance with like, the Tiffany, Sarah Beth, Hannah situation, but he can be in the middle of both alliances, even if he's on the bottom of one. I think Frenchie needs to put up somebody like Brittany, and maybe not. Did I say Frenchie? Kylan. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Kylan needs to put up somebody like Brittany, and maybe even Frenchie as like you put me up, let me just put you up in return, just to fill a pawn spot. Because even if Brittany goes or Frenchie goes, I think that puts Kylan in a power position in a game. Who's really going to be going for Kylan at that point?
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Frenchie volunteer last week to be a pawn for Kylan if he won HOH? Am I making that up? I think he may have offered that. He obviously doesn't still want
I've heard of that, but I didn't see it happen. But yeah, I've heard that be talks of Frenchie feeling
maybe he could try to use that as an excuse, because Brittany, I think, is the only person outside of all of Kylan's alliances right now.
If I'm Kylan, the logical thing is to put Brittany and Frenchie up, because I think Frenchie, you could just be like, oh, you put me up, and then you can give him the same raw deal he gave you and be like, oh, but I want you to win veto. I'm going to try to help you out, even if it's not true. You could just do the same thing, honestly. And what's he going to say? How could you betray me? Like, get out of here. So I think he can do that. Brittany, I think Tiffany and Claire probably wouldn't want that, but it's logical. It makes sense, and I think that enough people would try to help her out. So I do think that if he wants to leave this week with the least amount of damage, those are the perfect people to do. With that being said, there's the people like Brent, Christian, and Alyssa specifically who are really expecting Kylan to do what the Slaughterhouse wants. And I think that, based off of the way they were speaking on feeds last night, and they were like, yeah, Kylan better put da-da-da-da-da, because if he doesn't, then, there's going to be an issue. So,
which
like
is crazy.
Sarah said,
because Derek X took Kylan off the block. You know what I'm trying to say?
Exactly.
Frenchie put Kylan on the block. So if y'all saying about loyalty and somebody should do the bidding, I feel like Kylan should do the bidding for the other side. Like, y'all don't deserve it. Y'all added him to the lane at the last minute for what? Just because
logically, it doesn't make sense for him to put Derek X up. And I think at first he was leaning towards doing it until people like Sarah told him, don't do that. And then Tiffany and Claire was like, don't do that. So basically, if they follow through with the plan that Sarah Beth was putting out, where they make this alliance with her, let me say it again, Kylan, Sarah, and then with Tiffany, Claire, and then Derek X, with basically his team and then 2 close of his allies. I think that's a very solid core, and I think that they can operate however they want. Now, like I said, with this being said, the whole Cookout Alliance, I really think need to reconnect and get on the same page again, because I haven't seen them speak all together in a long time. And I'm starting to see them start to spread out and do their own thing, which is fine. But I'm very worried about players, specifically Derek X right now. I say XF, because he seems to really be gravitating towards the Christians and the Frenchies right now. And I think that he would defect or snitch or any of that stuff if it came down to it. So I don't know what he's going to plan on doing. I also know, logically, him and Hannah don't speak that much, but I don't think he wants to put up Hannah, and I don't think it's a smart move. So I really think the Cookout need to talk. They need to reconnect, because like I said, they're all doing their own thing right now.
Well, they have a was it a pretense that they're gonna not be around each other? I know they said that and they were gonna try to connect with other people, but it's vital to reconnect at one point so you don't get lost in the shuffle of being like, oh, this is my new alliance because I don't talk to the Cookout that much, and can I really trust them? It's important to have those at least once a week or twice a week strategy talks with at least half of everybody.
Like even Xavier, I'm starting to see. He's obviously, he talks to all the members of the Cookout. I think that's really his main alliance in his mind. But other than that, I don't see him talking to Derek that much. I don't see him talking to Brittany or Claire like that. I see him hanging around Whitney a lot, and I see Christian and Alyssa hanging around him a lot. So they need to hey, come over here real quick. Let's even during these 101 segments that he's doing as we speak, I think that he needs to oh yeah, and then with the Cookout we need to do this and that. I think it's a smart decision. What do you think, Sarah?
Yeah, I might be backtracking a bit, but I personally don't think going for the middle people is the best strategy for Kylan. I know it's early on and you don't want to get blood on your hands, but at this point, the house is pretty split in numbers potentially. I think you can't risk wasting a week and not taking out a number on the other side. So I think he needs to choose his side now and fire a shot. I know it's scary, but that's honestly what I think. I think it's better to, instead of going after Brittany, pull her in, because especially if you have Azah, Brittany said on camera, Azah's her number one. And or people like Xavier can get pulled in. They even have a weird relationship with Christian where it's they kind of trust him, but I'm like, do not trust Christian, but they kind of do,
Yeah.
Even Tiffany felt comfortable enough to say in front of Christian that she was going for Brent, which I thought was very bold. I think Christian's scary to me personally, how much they seem to trust him.
And he can win competitions as well. And I think, honestly, I don't think that there's a way to leave this week without blood on your hands, right? And I think there's only 2 different ways you can leave out of here. Like you were saying, the first one, if you take the middle side, which I don't think is a smart move, like you said, you're going to possibly leave with still having allies, but none of them are really going to trust you. They're going to think you're shady.
Yeah,
Because
it's like if you're not with us, you're against us.
there you go. The other way is you're going to have another half of the house really looking at you weird, but you'll have people who super trust you and they'll protect you. And I think that's what someone in Kylan's position desperately needs. I will say I'm starting to see Kylan play a little better than Xavier now. I do know that we spoke that last week because I spoke this a little bit, but I really don't think Xavier has a number one yet. Maybe that's Whitney. I don't know, but I don't. I'm starting to see everyone form duos. Like I'm seeing Alyssa and Christian, Sarah and Kylan, Tiffany and Clara. Like there's a lot of duos forming right now, and Xavier does not have one. And he's trying to be nice with everyone, and that's great. But sooner or later, you're going to need someone to like vouch for you and look out for you. Because it could be dangerous.
Yeah.
So,
but this house reads to me very fluid. And I think it's going to come to a point where it's going to have to be fluid. And somebody like X, it could go either way, 50-50, where since everybody is paired up, the pairs are going on the block. And they keep him off because he's not paired up. But this also could be, let me throw Xavier on the block because he doesn't have anybody vouching for him. So I think he's really on a tightrope where if he's able to stay with, if the right people are willing to or are able to win HOH, X is never going up. Like I think Alyssa wouldn't put X up. I don't think anybody in the cookout would put X up. So it depends on like somebody like a Brittany maybe, or maybe somebody like smart like Sarah Beth. Sarah Beth would put X on the block, I feel. Because I feel
Frenchie's already starting to speak about it though too. Frenchie said that he's looking at him. So
wow. And that actually is very surprising.
Yeah, that's just what I was saying, was that Frenchie and Brenna have already spoken about how he's such like a threat,
Yeah.
They're terrified of women and strong men.
Yeah, they both said that they're threatened by Kylan and X, so they need something.
One thing about Xavier though, I did not see this myself on feeds, but word on the Twitter streets is that Claire said she has a crush on Xavier, which is interesting. Right. So maybe they can also kind of,
a lot of girls want a piece of Xavier in the house. They like cuddling.
I feel like they don't. No,
he's the cuddle guy. Everyone cuddles with him. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah.
I've seen him cuddle up with Azza. I've seen him cuddle
Kylan, the cute picture with
Kylan, and he's cuddled up with. Claire obviously has something going on. Whitney, he's always with Whitney and Alyssa. Everybody wants to cuddle with Xavier. So,
not that like I said.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say, can you blame him?
Other than that, so that's the alliance structures. That's what's going on with the HOH. I'm thinking we're going to see noms today. I don't really know what the general direction is. I know that he's telling everyone for the most part that he's not trying to do what Frenchie did. He's saying that I'm not telling anyone who I'm putting up. No one's going to know. I'm just doing one-on-ones with everyone. Then I'm going to make my decision. Yeah. I think it's a smart move. And
especially because of the comp. I think he's waiting for the comp.
Exactly. Wild card. Yeah, that is right. So, who do you guys think is getting the wild comp this week, guys?
Can I tell you my worst fear that I was just thinking about?
Go ahead.
So there have been rumors, or maybe Julie said this and I just missed it, but the winner might have to switch teams,
if he wants to be safe himself.
So watch this. Frenchie wins the comp. Frenchie switches to Brent's team, gets to save someone on that team, and saves Brent.
Well, if he saves, like, who else is on Brent's team? It's Brent and who else?
Whitney, right?
Brent, Whitney.
Yeah. Xavier?
Derek X.
No, Xavier's on Christian.
So what if
Whitney and Derek X are together?
What if Frenchie goes over there, spins the wheel, it's 2, and he can save himself and Brent and Whitney? Then we have a problem.
we have a problem.
We have a problem.
Because what is Kylan got? Like, what is he gonna do? I think he's forced to go on that side. No.
Yeah, he'd be forced to be pro Slaughterhouse, but and we can talk about the Slaughterhouse in a second. But yeah, this is a very luck reliant competition. Question: do we like the wild card comp? I don't think I mind it. I don't mind it. It's more of if you remember last year where they had the penthouse twist or whatever, where you can save someone if you win the competition.
Or the safety suite.
Yeah, like this is like the same thing, but you can save more than one person, and it's completely random. I don't mind it.
Mhm.
I
I
think
like it.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm more bothered by the teams, weirdly. Like the fact that your whole team is safe. Like, what if you want to nominate your team member? I don't know.
No,
It's all
It's nice to like force alliances early and and like
Yeah.
allowing yourself to have game talks and trust people early. So I get that aspect of it too.
I'm excited about the swap because I think the swap could do a lot of stuff. Like I don't see Frenchie having a strong chance of being able to go into that comp. Like they're not all going to agree to that.
Mhm.
I think
Like
they are.
maybe Derek F, but like I think because Ozzy didn't go before, right? Ozzy
No.
will probably want to go. Yeah, because they were safe. So it's 4 of them, right? So basically 4 on that team, 3 on some other teams, or maybe 4 on those. Okay, it doesn't matter. My whole thing with the safety switch thing, I think it could be really cool to hopefully it's just you switch to the safe team. Like I hope it's not like you get to save anybody else. I hope they like change the mechanics of the safety every week so it's not like predictable because I wouldn't want 3 people on a whole team to be safe, if that makes sense. Like that cuts off a lot of avenues.
So Brent Champagne won it last week, right?
No.
Oh no,
Christian.
So that means Frenchie and Brent Champagne can both compete this year. So I mean this week. So I hope they lose. I don't know, but it'll be interesting. I did want to.
Brittany should want it though too, but French is a little bit louder. So I don't know.
Yes. I did want to say that going into this week as well, the slaughterhouse. I did want to talk about that for a little bit. I think it's a very situational alliance. The way I'm looking at this is the way I'm looking at the committee, right? Where it's or even grateful as well. Both alliances actually, where I'm starting to see this evolution in strategy where they have this huge alliance full of people that don't really trust or like each other, but numbers in your mind, it's an easy pathway to the jury. So it's like realistically, you can be like, I don't trust these people, I don't like these people, but if I don't go against these people, that's votes towards my direction if I'm on the block, and then I'll be safe. So I get it. Like I understand. It's boring. I hate it, but I understand. But that being said, we're starting to see Brent and Alyssa and Christian saying how they don't trust Frenchie. You're starting to see Kylan and Xavier and all them. They're like very iffy about French, and this is a very fragile alliance, and I feel like it takes like Kylan's HOH. If he put up to certain people, it'd be over. But if somehow the slaughterhouse survived this week, going into next week, and let's say Brent or Christian or someone wins HOH, I can see the slaughterhouse actually being a little bit more solidified, which scares me. So what do you guys think about the slaughterhouse? Does it have blow up bomb squad potential, or is this thing going to stick around for a while?
I think it depends on the opposite side. I think what I'm happy about is I think Tiffany just seems to get the game, because I think what happens so often with these big alliances is the people on the outside just try to crawl their way in. And even if you can kind of get your way in, you're not in. Like you're still at the bottom, And so how you combat the big alliance is make another big alliance on the opposing side to fight against it. Like having 2 sides of the house that can go at each other. Like that's what could have happened at All Stars if we didn't have people like Kevin ruining everything. But I don't know. So I think it's very implodable, but it's all going to depend on if the other side can win comps and break them apart.
I agree. The other side of the house is not going to let that side just be a side. Like they already got their targets lined up where they're willing to take a shot no matter what. They're not going to. I don't think the Tiffany and Claire side will be taking middle shots. That's not on their agenda. They're going for the head honchos, and I think they understand what needs to happen. It's just, are they going to be able to either win the HOHs themselves, or are they going to be able to have like somebody like Kylan or Derek X or Xavier win and like kind of not manipulate their HOHs, but kind of steer them the right direction? Because I think the Claire and Tiffany duo is probably the more powerful duo in the house. Like, I don't think nobody's stronger than that, and on a game sense and probably a trust sense.
Okay. I will say, by the way, while we're streaming, I'm looking on Twitter. It's starting to look like Sarah Beth won the wild card competition.
Queen
did not switch teams. So,
but it looks like safety.
I don't think
I
so.
don't know. I got to look too much
The
into
whole reason
it.
she said she wanted to compete was so that other people didn't win safety.
Yeah.
And so I guess there's no reason for her to take it. But that
And it
does look weird with Kylan though. Like, ooh, why does
But
Sarah Beth trust Kylan so much?
that's
it does
smart
look like
though.
she's it looked like she beat Frenchie and Brent as well. I will say that.
Haha.
So they can't compete in the next 2 weeks, so that's good to know.
I can't wait for
Yes.
the Sarah Beth fan cam.
Oh, question about
Wow.
this. This is what I had. I was thinking about this the other day. So, and we can obviously go back to what we were just talking about. So with the safety comp or the wild card comp, whatever, once you compete, you cannot compete again. Do
Mhm.
you think anybody's going to try to hit the strategy of taking somebody out that hasn't competed yet to make sure if they do compete, they have a better chance to win?
I don't think people think that way, but that's a really good strategy. I had actually never thought about that. I
Because
don't think anyone would ever do though.
it's beneficial to go early and lose and not
Yeah.
basically have a chance to get it versus going later. And because I think that can help you out too much. I think people are looking at that like if you're competing with less people later on, it's better.
Mhm.
But I don't know if they were thinking like that, but I would if I was in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So there we go. So wow, I'm flabbergasted. Sarah won. I'm just like looking at this again. All right. Anyway,
Oh,
Shout
I
out to
love
Sarah
Sarah Beth.
Beth.
Shout out Sarah Beth. So I guess
queen.
the last thing I wanted to speak about. It seems like in the Stan world. And I mean they're feeling each other. It seems like Derek X and Hannah are feeling each other. They're not a showmance, but they're working together. Is this real? Like, is this going to be a showmance, or is this going to stay on an alliance territory? Because I know they both said that they like each other, but Hannah said, "This I ain't doing no showmances. I have a crush on him, but whatever." Are they going to stick to that, or are they going to like fold? Like, what do you guys think?
I think it's gonna be a bromance in a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
I think Hannah's a bro.
How about you?
I see them if they both last in the house for a while, especially if they get the jury. I can see them potentially kind of getting close in the house, like very close over time, and kind of like the Angela and Tyler situation where it was kind of low key at first, and then kind of when people start leaving the game, they kind of start like, "Ooh, we can kind of probably do this." I hope they don't because I think that will ruin both of their games. But I can most definitely see the flirting expanding to something more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we talk about Hannah as an individual for a bit?
Yes.
Because I think she's very interesting in the house. Because when I saw her diary room confessionals, like she seems to have a really good grasp on the game and obviously has a good head on her shoulders. But like in the game itself, I think she talks the least game out of anyone in the house. You could disagree if maybe someone else, but like she to me does not have a lot of those game conversations and does not seem to be forming like those close game bonds.
I'm starting to see. I've noticed that she does most of her game talking with Derek X, specifically last night because I felt the same way as well until last night. And I was like, wow, like she's actually like she knows what's going on. But I, it's either her or Derek X that has the least amount of game talk, but I think it is Hannah right now. I will say Aza, it's. She's very hard to find on feeds because she doesn't really talk too much. She just listens. And I've noticed that she's not too vocal when it comes to these talks, but she's involved. But yeah, I think Hannah is the least involved when it comes to those. But I'm starting to see a little change as of last night. So I'll give her the benefit of
I
the
think
doubt.
Hannah is building. I personally see Hannah being a really strong social player strictly. Like I think Hannah's able to like grasp people with certain like compatibilities, like basically little things like fashion with certain people or like, working out or whatever. Like I think she knows how to like get people to personally like her. And I think over time the game sense is going to come out. Cause I think if Hannah comes out too strong as how social she is, she's kind of not in the greatest position right now, but she's not a threat game wise. I think if she was both, she would be way more threatening. So I think the little game information she's leaking out I think is on purpose because how good of a read she had on Frenchie in that like diary room was crazy. Like she clocked him basically like you're literally just trying to make this all-girl alliance to cover your ass for next week. And I looked at that like, not saying I didn't think Hannah wouldn't think that, but like I looked at it as she's very quiet in the house, but she understands the game and she's willing to say it in the diary rooms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't know if anyone watched the conversation with Claire, Tiffany, and Derek X last night. To me, it was like the best game talk we've had all season. Just the way they were able to analyze the house and like really, I think they said every single member of the slaughterhouse completely accurately. And especially I think Sarah Beth even had a lot of input like earlier in the day when she's like the All Girls Alliance. He left out 2 women, Whitney and Alyssa. Why was that? Because he's already in a big alliance with them. And just things like that I feel like in the past players haven't really been able to pick up on.
And I will also say, I'm so sorry, I'm giving y'all like a bunch of like stuff that's going on while it's live. So it seems like Frenchie's like starting to freak out. I guess I don't know what conversation he had with Sarah.
Frenchie freaking out?
But it seems like Sarah is exposing Frenchie and throwing him under the bus, telling his team that she's telling his team that there's a huge alliance that she's not a part of and that they're in, and that he thinks it's going to split up and that he's going to get nominated. So Sarah, it seems to be blowing up she's been getting a lot of information this week. It seems like she's starting to blow up of the slaughterhouse today. So I mean, we literally just spoke about this, but as word from word, she said Frenchie told me about y'all's alliance.
Period.
He didn't say all the names, but basically said all the people that wasn't in it. He told me the people not in the girls' alliance. So he basically blew up your alliance, and Kylan said, "Good to know." So I think Frenchie's in some trouble. But I mean, we'll see how that goes. That's a fun conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I love Sarah Beth. Did you even see her yesterday also? She was having a lot of conversations about Derek X, which I was like, ugh, she still hung up on Derek about that lie that Derek was coming for. But then it ended up, it was because she wanted him in her alliance and she was just feeling people out to see who she could work with Derek X. So she's like, we can't have Christian. Christian is not like Derek X, you know? Just like little things like that. I'm like,
I like that little dress she had on, like that on the live eviction. She had like half one color, half the other color. I was like, that's crispy. I was like, look at her being an accomplished seamstress.
Oh, lastly, and this is, I promise, last thing. I noticed I forgot this. Tiffany is like crazy, like good. And I've noticed she's been doing this thing lately where she's like staying very aware when she's game talking. Like she'll be in the bathroom. Oh, I hear too many footsteps. We gotta break up. You're talking in the storage room with DX. I'm gonna hold the trash can open, pretend you're about to throw a banana peel in it when they walk in. Or like, oh, let me fake cry so I can go game talk with Oz. Like she's really good at that. I will say it seemed like she was taking the forefront with a lot of strategy last night, and it spooked Christian. But I don't think he's gonna do anything about it. So Tiffany is game mode ready, and I'm loving every part of it. So I'm excited to see what else she brings to the table. But yeah.
No, I feel like Tiffany is positioning herself the best. I feel like Tiffany has been included in more alliances than anybody naturally, but I'm also very scared for Tiffany because she's very transparent. And like I think that's like, I don't want to say that's automatically a Detroit thing, but like a lot of people from Detroit are very transparent. Like they're very like, I'm gonna show you what this is, you're gonna deal with it or whatever. And it's either good or bad. Right now it's really good and beneficial for Tiffany, but I'm kind of worried that like, let's say you look at Tiffany, Hannah, and Azza, and then you look at Derek, F, Xavier, and Kylan. I know I'm thinking long term. Let's say the cookout works out. Who are they gonna be the most scared of?
Xavier.
Yeah. Or Kai, one or the other.
I do think that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think Tiffany's up there.
I don't know. I think the girls are going to stick like are behind. Like here's the danger of her, but specifically Tiffany. I think Claire right now is going to take a lot of the heat for Tiffany because I think people see her as like the girl, like I'm bringing all the girls together right now, minus Whitney and Alyssa right now. But honestly, I think Claire and Tiffany are the glue. But I think Tiffany has more connections than Claire. So that's why Claire's getting a lot more of the blame for it. So, I mean, if it came down to it, I think I will say Derek F was right in the sense where he was like, another girl needs to go, because I think that Derek F sees the benefit of there being equal power, so everyone can feel comfortable in the alliance. But you know, they're already outnumbered as is right now. What, they're down a guy. There's what, 3 guys, 3 girls in the cookout, sorta. But if another guy goes this week, which Frenchie once, it's looking like, I mean, Sarah's still putting him firmly under the bus, but it looks like if Frenchie is the target this week and leaves, Derek F is going to be very vulnerable, and I think he can start spiraling as well. I think the guys will be at the girls' mercy, and I mean, I know you're saying that Tiffany's going to be the biggest threat, but really, will they be able to do anything about it? I really don't think so. So it's a numbers game as well as a competition game. So it's very interesting to see. I'm very curious to see how they maneuver around it. But I'm liking it. All right, so that is everything that I had to speak about. I don't know, you guys have anything else you want to talk about before we close out?
Yeah, I think I had one thing I want to talk about.
What's up?
I guess I was just thinking, like, as for like a season as a whole, I think the season is so special to me because of the fact is they cast so many smart, strategic women. Because I think so often a lot of the women that fill the cast roles are like models or influencers, and not to say you can't be smart and be hot, but I guess to like have those strong women in the house, I think is so exciting for me. And also the fact, like, we have such a diverse cast. Like, I don't know if you saw, but like Kylan winning, he was the first Black male since BB16. Like, that's ridiculous to win an HOH. Like, that just shows that there's not enough diversity in the cast. And so I don't know. I think it's just like it's a exciting start to the season.
Very exciting as well.
Okay. Well, thank you for watching. Anyone who's been watching live or will be watching in the future, etc. We appreciate every little bit you do. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe, follow, and all that fun stuff to all of our social media pages listed in the description down below as well on the screen right now. Subscribe, follow, every little bit helps. And thank you for watching Silent Podcast. Ganja, thank you for joining us. As usual, I'm sure we'll have you over here more. I mean, you know, unspoken. Where can people find you?
Oh, you can find me at Ganja the Dank 2 on Twitter, and actually, you can follow me at the Monarch Game and follow my social strategy game page. Shout out to y'all.
Okay. Sarah, how about you? Where can people find you?
Here's my Twitter. One day on the podcast, I'll be able to point to it the first time. That's all I got.
All right, and like usual, you can find me at 8 Ball Bangers. And like I said, follow the pages so we can have constant updates. I believe the Survivor South Africa podcast will be back this weekend, so you can watch Sasha and Jason over there. And I believe me and Sarah will be back. What's today? Friday, so we'll be back on like Monday. So you'll see us over there then. But until next time, have a good one. See you later. Bye.